Can you make me a coffee? 2 milk, 2 sugar.
You get that.
Protein. Scalar does not embrace left-handed people.
Left-hand drive.
Oh, left-hand drive.
We have that.
Yeah. But you shift. No, there's no shifting because it's electric.
Shifting,
We
see?
fixed that problem.
Solved it.
Yeah.
Shall we talk about NASA?
NASA. Let's talk about NASA.
So NASA, a partner with Scalar since the very beginning. They were amazing. We said, hey, you don't really know us, but we want to build an electric car and come racing. And they said, you want to do what? And then we spent a lot of time talking to them about the safety we're engineering, and they've approved the car for use this year in the Super Touring Series.
Yep.
So it's the Builder Series, meaning you run what you brung, and they class it. So we get a lot of questions online about how do we BOP?
There's a big question because the power delivery in an electric vehicle is so different than a gas car, especially because we only have one gear. So our power band is delivered way differently than a gas car that goes through all the gears. You get 6-speed, 5 speeds. You keep that engine kind of its peak range, but only have that little peak of the mountain where it's actually efficient. Our electric car, its torque is through its entire delivery, but the horsepower is a very linear curve. So our horsepower comes on a little bit later, but because the RPM range is so much higher, we only need that one speed. So,
right. So if you say it's a 400 horsepower car and it's gas, you're going through that 400 horsepower peak with each shift. If you say it's a 400 horsepower electric car, you eventually get the RPM up to where it's 400 horsepower at your top speed.
Yeah.
But you don't have that horsepower available throughout. So it is very different power delivery. We expect that the classing is going to have to be different. And so while a fourth gear pull on a gas car is a good way to figure out power in a set of scales, you figure out weight, you're good to go. You add the modifiers that are in the rule book and you come up with a power to weight ratio. I think all of us are unsure exactly how to class the electric car. So it's obviously going to need a modifier, a power to weight plus a modifier for being EV, a single speed EV. And so I guess really this year, what we've agreed with them is we'll run it really a class up from the lap times we're landing at. So if we're landing at the top of the ST3 lap times, then we'll run it in ST2. And then what we're doing is just at the end of the race, marking it as just for fun, so we're not taking points away from anybody. And that's what we're doing for the 23 season. And, depending on the development cycle, maybe part of the 24 season.
is the food here yet?
Okay, so another question that comes up a lot is how heavy is it, right? Tick.
Tick with 3 C's.
It's not so heavy.
No, you're right. It's not Tesla thick.
She's not Tesla.
Yeah.
That's 3 C's.
It's not Hummer. That's like 5 C's.
That's a lot of C's. That's all the C's.
All the C's. I mean, we have 10C discharge, so
Yeah.
it's got C's.
It does have C's.
Wrong C's.
Which is pretty funny if you actually understand how battery ratings work and C ratings for batteries. But everybody's pretty used to the Hummers and the Teslas and these rather, shall we say, portly EVs.
Quite heavy.
Quite heavy.
Quite robust.
So we brought to Hyperfest, the largest East Coast automotive event there with NASA, a gas car and an electric car, both prepared by us. A couple differences, right? Our electric car is 3,100 pounds. Our gas car is 2,675 with a full tank of fuel. So there's a few hundred pounds difference, but we've got a fair bit more power in the EV car. So, we're at least at VIR, it's about 12 seconds a lap faster we were doing. So the weight wasn't slowing it down that much.
No, and even though it is heavier, all of that weight is between the axles. So you don't have any weight overhanging the back axle, overhanging the front axle. Whereas if you look at the gas car, almost the entire engine is in front of the center line of the front axle. So that's a lot of weight that's outside of the wheelbase of the car.
Well, that really affects how the car pivots.
Yeah, exactly.
Which also impacts braking, right? So Alana, our driver, she went out in both cars and set lap times in both cars, but she can outstop the gas car with the electric car because the weight distribution is so different. The weight distribution in the gas car is 55% front, 45 rear. And so when you brake and transfer even more weight to the front, you overload those front tires and you don't get a whole lot of rear braking. With the electric car being 45 front, 55 rear, when you go into that corner, the car just really hunkers down and you get to use all that rubber to stop.
And all the weight is so low down in the chassis too. You don't have weight. Like
That weight
the
transfer is not the same.
even though the boxer engine's very low profile, it's still sitting up on top of the subframe. So our entire battery pack is lower than
Way back.
the height of the motor. So again, that helps with keeping that car planted. Both cars have the exact same braking system on them. They have the same calipers, same pads, same rotors. And the electric car, despite its heavier weight, will outbrake the gas car.
This leads to the question of brake bias. This
Yes.
car's obviously, you said that it's got the same kit on it, but it obviously has a very different bias.
Yeah, and that's something that we're discovering this year with the regenerative braking in the back. So that is also our brake bias. That
Right. So we
contributes.
have proportioning valve, of course, that allows us to change it, but then regenerative braking.
Yeah, we can turn up the regen braking or turn it down based on how much regen we want to recharge the battery or how much braking we want. So we're toying with going out with 100% charged battery and almost no regenerative braking in the back. Or do we go out with, say, an 85% state of charge in the battery and we have full regenerative braking in the back? That top 15% of the battery, we're figuring out what that means.
Don't we fucking wish we knew?
The more you like and subscribe us, the more we can do burnouts in it.
I mean, I think the best way to answer that, like, if somebody wants to buy the car today, we want to sell a car today. However, we want to sell a car that is like the lowest maintenance car that any club racer's ever owned. That's just plug in, drive, plug in, drive. And because nobody's done this, it's turned out to be a much harder effort than we expected. We're making good strides there, but we don't want to put these cars in people's hands until it can be a super low maintenance, super safe, super easy to run. And so that's probably going to be the 2024 season. We are still looking for, people who want to work with us. First purchases of this car, we're going to be hand-holding those people very closely. So if anybody's interested in this car, please reach out to us because we absolutely want to work with people who are going to drive them and help us build the ultimate club racer. Price comes up on a very regular basis. The car is priced for the Founder Edition cars, which will be the first 10 cars, at $209. Those 10 Founder Edition cars will get all hardware and software that's required to upgrade them to whatever production car ends up finally being. At such time there's a spec series, they'll be at spec. That 209, we would love it to be less, but there is definitely a tax for being at the forefront of technology.
Especially the forefront of EV. Everything in the EV space is extremely expensive as it's also new.
It's all, and it's not mass produced yet. So that's the price.
So thanks for following us and listening. Follow us on our prototype journey with this car. Follow us on all the social medias. Like and subscribe.